Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Webcast Wednesday. I hope everyone's keeping safe and well. Thank you for joining today's session. It's been a little while since I've run a webinar. However, with the changes from our previous configurator, which many people would have known as RIGs, this has now changed to the new RiPanel, then I thought this was worth doing to take you through the changes, and I thought it would be a good chance to give you a refresher on the software. So if today's the first time that you've attended one of our webinars, then many thanks for registering. I hope you find it useful. The idea behind these sessions is hopefully to provide you with just a short session, around 25 to 30 minutes, that's informative, and hopefully you will leave a little bit more knowledge than you did before. So the sessions aren't designed to cover all aspects of the topic, it's more of an overview. So if there's something that I don't cover today, then please do drop me a message and then we can discuss this offline and on a more one-to-one basis. You can send messages throughout the webinar. What I will do is go through these at the end if that's okay, just so it keeps the flow of the session running. And for those of you who don't know me, my name's Ryde. I'm the product manager here at Rittal UK for industrial and IT enclosures. I work alongside three of the product managers here, who also run webinars in their own specialist areas. So do look out for these being advertised on social media platforms. And then if there's something of interest, log on. And then, like I said, there's different ones running all the time. So if something of interest, then just drop the office an email or register via things such as LinkedIn or other social media platforms. So I mentioned before what I wanted to cover you today was the changes in the Rittal configuration system, or you'll hear me sometimes refer to that as RIGs. That's what it was called before. It's now been renamed to RiPanel. So what actually has happened is the interface with the RiPanel has been redesigned, so it looks clearer and it's more simple to use in my opinion. It's a fresh look. One of the new functions in RiPanel is that you can initially log in with your online web shop account details. So this means whilst you're working through a configuration, then you can see the live price and information. If you don't have an account, then you can create one. Or if you want to use this just on a guest basis, that's absolutely fine. You can do that as well. The only difference is obviously you won't be seeing the pricing as you're working through it. There's also some new features in regards to locating parts within the panel, such as punch sections, lighting, and partial mounting plates, for instance. But we'll go through these as I'm going to work through a live example shortly. For those of you who haven't used software before, this is where you can find this on our website. So here we can have the scrolling banner. So obviously this changes all the time, but you can actually link to the RiPanel software from here. One thing I would stress when you're using our website, please make sure you're using the Rittal UK website. If you're using another subsidiary's website, then you may not get access to the web shop, and it may be that there's certain parts on their website that we don't actually supply here in the UK. So please do make sure you're on the Rittal UK website when you're using the RiPanel or if you're looking for products. So when you first land on the website, as I mentioned, you'll see the screen in front of you. The scrolling banner may be different. What you then need to do is click on support section at the top, and under configurators, just click this link. You'll then see a screen like this, and all we simply need to do then is click here where it says Rittal configuration system, and that will take you directly through to the software. And I'm just going to open that up now. So this is where you'll come through to. So as you can see, there's 4 different configurators on here at the moment. We've got the enclosure sections, large and small, PDUs, and then the VX25 power engineering software. So as an example today, we're going to through a large enclosure. So we'll literally click on this section. And the first thing it wants to do is, okay, you've selected a large enclosure. Are we looking at a big suite of enclosures, or are we looking at freestanding enclosures? Today, as an example, we're going to look at a big suite of enclosures. So again, it's very simple this throughout. It is literally a click-through process, and you are prompted at each point in terms of the next action. So we're going to configure this now. What we need to remember when using this software is it is a configurator. It's not a drawing package. So it is a configurator. You can't get anything wrong. You can't break anything on this. So when you're having to play around with it, don't worry. But like I say, it is a configurator at the end of the day. So this is the registration details that I mentioned before. So we can either log in We can create an account, or you can just continue as a guest. Today I'm going to log in because I have a test account. And what that will do then is, this will bring in pricing information. So here we can see on the right hand side, I now have list prices against these parts. If you've got an online account with us, and obviously you've got a discount detail set up, then you'll see the price that's applicable to yourself. So all that information's here. So the good thing about the RiPanel as well is the fact that you can just jump on here if you're wanting to find out pricing information straight away of a part. Obviously you can do that through the web shop as well, but it's useful to have as you're building a suite of panels up. So like the old system, there's a number of different ways of selecting an enclosure initially. We have width, height and depth details here on the left hand side. We can simply scroll down, or you can type in a part number here. We can also see in the new RiPanel now that the coloring's changed and the layout's changed slightly. So the toolbar for swapping between accessories and the configurations on the left hand side here. And then we have our other features in the top right hand corner. What these files do here are, if we simply click on them, if we've provided you with a product via an order that's been designed and configured in RiPanel, then you can put in the sales order details here and you can open that configuration file. That's the same with quotations. So if we've created a pricing for yourself and we've done that through the configurator again, the reference on there can be loaded in and you can simply open the configuration file. Or if you've already done a configuration yourself and you want to reopen that again, you just click in this section here to reopen a file that you've already been working on or that you've completed. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do an example of two enclosures made together with some accessories and some modifications, and we'll work through that and then I'll answer any questions at the end if there's any that's come in. So the part that I want to select today, I'm going to type the part number in. What you'll notice straight away, as soon as we select a part, we get a CAD image on the right hand side. So we can see here the panel, we can zoom in, this in further detail, and you'll be able to do this the whole way through the configuration. You will get a detailed bid example at the end as well. So for anyone that doesn't have a 3D drawing package, this is a fantastic tool to have to create 3D drawings to see how the build's actually going to look. What you can do as well throughout all this, there is extra documents that you can open and save as part of that full package. So if you're creating a tendering document, for instance, you can create all your drawings in this, and you can create all the extra paperwork that's needed in there as well, such as PDF data sheets. So we've selected our first enclosure, and click next. What happens now, the system knows that we want to bear these together. It's asking us how do we want to bear them. Are we going to bear them side to side, or are we going to bear them back to back? In this instance, side to side. And we are going to choose two enclosures to bear together. Now, the great thing about RiPanel is that the system's intelligent. It knows which enclosure you've selected, it knows which enclosures can be bared to the first enclosure that you've selected, and it also knows what accessories can be used. So there's no chance of fitting an incorrect side panel on there or a plinth or punch section. It will only select the parts for the enclosures that you've picked. So again, it really does reduce the amount of human error searching through a catalogue or on the internet selecting parts. You don't have that concern that have you picked the right part that fits that particular enclosure. The system's already done this for you. So as I mentioned before, it's intelligent. It knows that the first enclosure you've selected is a 600 wide, 600 deep, 2 metre high enclosure. The system automatically picks the same size enclosure to bear with it. That's because in most instances, that's quite common for people to put the next size enclosure as the same one. However, in this instance, we want to change it. All we simply do is click on enclosure number 2. The system knows it has to be the same height and the same depth, but it knows the width can change. So what it does on the left-hand side, it shows you what other options you have available. So for today's example, we're going to look at an 800 wide enclosure. So here we can see that it's changed the enclosure. You can see that on the right-hand side as well. I'm going to just click through again. Now, this is telling us that once we've made these enclosures together, we cannot change this. If you decided at a later date that actually you want to change the size of that enclosure, you would need to redo the configuration. So in this instance, once it's been made, then that has to stay. That's one selection that you can't undo. So the system's just pulling together the information. What it's now doing as well is it's putting in parts that's needed for baying. So it's selecting baying connectors, it's selecting baying panels for the roof. So it's selecting those parts for us. Now we can change them at the end, which I'll show you at the end of the configuration. But what it's done, it's gone away and it's already picked baying brackets for us to save us the trouble. So here we have our two enclosures. Now there's two ways of selecting accessories. The first section that it's going to show us is the most commonly used accessories when baying enclosures. So things such as we're going to need plinths, we're going to need side panels, potentially different door handles. And when you pick accessories in this section, it adds them to both enclosures. So we're not having to do individual ones. If we click on baying accessories, it's going to bring us a list. Now this is where the time savings are fantastic. We're not going to have to look for a part number for a set of side panels or plinths. This will do this for us. So we can see here the side panels. We've got our pricing here. I have a selection of different side panels. In this instance, I'm just going to use the standard screw side panels, and all I do is press add. I don't have to look for a part number. I don't need to be concerned if I pick the right size or not. The system's doing this for me already, and it's adding it to the bill of materials at the end. Same with the plinth. When you're looking for a plinth, you've normally got to select the front and rear pieces and then the side pieces. Again, there's a chance for human error there. This takes that away. All we need to do is select whether we want a 100mm or a 200mm plinth. Today, we're going to look for a 100mm plinth. Again, the system's doing all this for us. As we scroll down, there's other accessories in here that we can choose. 180 hinges, system lights, for instance. So in this instance, it shows the system light there. This is one with a motion detector. It's a 1200 lumen LED light. If we would be happy that that light is what we actually want, then it would put the light into both enclosures. And what it would also do is it would pick the connection cables for us. So anything where we need to fit an accessory and there is another part needed, when you're doing it this way, it will automatically put in those extra connection cables or those extra brackets if needed to fit one of these accessories. However, we do have the option to choose system lights further as we get into the system accessories, as we're looking at each enclosure individually. So I'm not going to select a light here. I'm going to do that in a moment when I look at one of my enclosures. One thing I do want to change the handles for comfort handles. Again, options on the different inserts. So just going to click with the double bit insert as standard. So I'll add these to our selection. We'll see it in our image shortly. And then we're going to look at door stays as well. So it'll add door stays into both enclosures. If we click here on the right hand side, show detail baying view. Just pulling the information together. I apologise, my internet connection is not as fast as most. We can see now what it's actually done. It's fitted the plinths for us and it's fitted the handle systems for us. Okay. It has got the side panels on. It's just obviously to be able to see through this image, they're obviously translucent. So we can see both of our enclosures there fitted together. There is another baying accessory that's on the next page because it doesn't fit on the first one, and that's a divider panel. Now, again, divider panel is something that's used, and it does give us two different options. Obviously, we have the ability to fit a divider panel either on the frame of the first enclosure or on the frame of the second enclosure. And again, so that's why that option's there. What we're going to do now is configure an enclosure on its own. So enclosure number one is what we're going to look at first. So I mentioned before in terms of putting light fittings into our enclosure. So here we have the different options. We'll look at interior installation and we'll look at system lights. So again, there's a number of different ways about selecting a light. We can either scroll down the list. We can look at the different types of attachments of how it's fitted, the different voltages, or the different the lumens in the actual light itself, so 900 or 1200, all the different types of sockets. For this example, I'm going to pick the first one, which is the 900 lumen. Now, again, the good thing with this is when we select that part, what happens here is on the right hand side, we get an image of what we're going to fit. This is great in terms of things such as the sockets. If you want to double check that it's the right socket, obviously there's different types of European fittings, there's the US fitting. So again, we can see that image. When I mentioned before about getting more information on accessories, so we've decided we want this light, we need further information to add as part of our tender documentation potentially, or the overall package of information. We can click this link. What that does is it will open up a separate PDF on that particular item, so it can give us further information. Apart from today, unfortunately, I just come up with an error code. But what it would normally do here is you would get a separate link and that would bring up a complete PDF. I'm just going to try it once more because it was working earlier this morning. Here we go. So there it has. It's opened up the LED system light, the part number, and then we can see all the extra information that may be needed in terms of approvals, potentially, operating temperatures. So you've got that extra information as part of your package. So we've selected the light. We're going to confirm that. And then again, this is what's great. There's lots of parts that we can fit inside an enclosure or on an enclosure where there's other accessories that will complement it. The good thing with this is it prompts us for that information. Rather than looking through the catalogue sometimes where potentially you may miss something, the RiPanel does this for us. So here we've got the different types of connection cables. So I'm going to pick power cable. And again, I've got the information on the right hand side. And I'm going to have a door operated switch. I'm going to add them to my selection. And again, it's just confirmed here the 3 parts that we've selected. And if you want to change them, you can simply delete that out. Again, if you get to the end of the configuration, you're not happy, you can delete it and go back into this to change potentially, like I said, cables or lights itself. So we're going to confirm that. What it then wants to know is where do we want to fit this? Now, depending on how you're going to use RiPanel, some people may just want to use this in terms of creating a bill of materials. So where the parts are fitted inside, that's of no great concern to you because it's something that you're going to do yourself when you actually get the cabinets to site. If that's the case, you can simply click through all this and confirm. Some people may be actually building this up so they've got exact drawings, or it may be that you want Rittal to supply the cabinets pre-configured with all these components in. So there's a number of different ways you can actually use RiPanel, whether it's just to create the drawings, whether it's something exact that you might need in terms of how you're going to build or how you want Rittal to build it, or like I said, just for a bill of materials. So we can see the light's been fitted. Now on a larger enclosure, when I put the light fitting in the 800 wide, you'll see that this positioning section in the bottom left-hand corner becomes open to us because we can move the light fitting. Because this is only 600 wide, there isn't an option to move this along the frame. So it's put it in the only position it can fit. And we'll just confirm that. And it'll add that then to our selection. So for enclosure number 1, I'm only going to fit a system light. What I do want to do is I want to do some modifications. I need to make some holes in the actual mounting plate. So I'm just going to click through. Now you can either use the buttons that we've just used on the top for next, or like I said, on the left-hand side, we can see the toolbar here. We could have clicked through to modification on this side. So again, there's 2 different options. Now, when we're doing cutouts and any type of modification, the first thing the system needs to know is which surface is it that we're going to modify. And again, by hovering over these options on the left-hand side, we can see that it's highlighted in green, the image on the right-hand side. Again, just to make it easy, it's simpler to use, it's clear to us. So in this instance, we're going to modify the mounting plate. So we're going to select this. Now, the nice thing with RiPanel is you can actually bring in designs from other drawings you may have already done. So if you've got a standard design you've done previously in CAD, so bring it as a DXF file, you can actually bring that into RiPanel. So what we would do is simply click the import CAD data. Obviously, it's then going to ask you, can you select file, please? I'm going to click one that I've already done, so a VX mounting plate, or it may be something that you've done from another, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a VX mounting plate, it could be something from an AX. As long as it fits within this scale, then that's absolutely fine. It's found my file, I'm going to highlight that, and it's now showing me on the right hand side what the design is that I've already brought in. So what we need to do is pick the selection tool here and highlight what on that mounting plate do we want to bring into our RiPanel configuration. So I'm going to select these holes here. Okay. Once I've selected them holes, it's saying, okay, which surface do you want to transfer these to? Well, we said before we're going to put these onto the mounting plate. I'm going to click the mounting plate, and then we simply transfer it over. So it's really simple. We've selected the holes. We're now on the mounting plate in our RiPanel configuration, and it's asking us where do we want to put these. So initially it's placed them here. What we can do is by changing our X and Y axis, we can move them where we want them. So I'm happy that that's where I want them. Obviously, this is all dependent on obviously where you want to put something in your design. Again, you can change the reference point at the moment it's bottom left, but you can amend this. So we're just going to place them. So my holes from my previous design are now on that mounting plate. What I want to do, I need to add some more in there. And again, we have a number of predefined cutouts that you can see on the left-hand side. Threaded holes, anti-rotation holes, bolts and nuts. In this instance, I'm just going to do a round cutout. Okay, so what we'll do is, you can see my cursor now hovering over the mounting plate. The diameter there is set to 8, but I want to change that to 20. Okay, you can see that there. I can then either drag this to somewhere else in my design, or we can use the X and Y coordinates. So I'm going to put this on my mounting plate, but I actually want more than one hole. My design calls for 3 holes and 2 rows of them. This is where we can use the chain dimension function, which is really clever. So what it's saying here is, right, okay, there's your hole. How many columns? So we'll look at this in columns and rows. So I actually need 3 holes and I need 2 rows of them. And then all I need to do is change the spacing between the hole centers. So here we're going to look at the spacing and have my extra holes. Now what we can do if we decide actually customers change their mind or we don't like the design, we can just simply delete them out. That's not a problem. And that's the same with the holes that were brought in from our previous design. You can just simply click a hole. Apologies, it's my mouse that's not working great. Oh, apologies, it seems that I've got internet issues, so it's just taken a little while. I'm going to have to cancel out of that and redo that. Bear with me. Unfortunately, I say it's internet's fantastic when it's working. So I'm just going to bring that CAD data in again. So again, we mentioned before, we've got our mounting plate from our previous job. I'm going to highlight the holes, decide where we want to transfer them to, and simply bring them over. Position on the mounting plate, and there we go. And put my extra holes in. And then we want more. So we have 3 holes and 2 rows. Okay, so as I mentioned before, like I say, you can actually take some of the detail out of these. So all we do is simply highlight them and then delete them out. So if we save those changes, so our mounting plate has now been modified. Let's just save that detail. And you can now see our mounting plate. It's got all the hole detail in there that we've just done. Okay, so from here, if you didn't want to actually do anything with the second enclosure, then you can jump straight to the configuration at the end of summary, place orders, get quotations, but we actually want to do something with our second enclosure as well. So all we do is on the right hand corner, you can see number 1 and number 2, enclosures to modify. We're actually going to jump to enclosure number 2. So this is our 800 wide enclosure. And again, first thing it's saying is, okay, what do we want to do in terms of modifications? Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to put more accessories in there. So all I'm going to do is on the left-hand side, click on System Accessories. I'm going to fit a light fitting. We're going to fit some punch sections, some partial mounted plates and a cooling unit. So here, as we mentioned before, interior installation, system light. We're going to pick the same light that we had before. That was the first one on the list. And confirm that. And in terms of cables, I've already picked my power supply cable and I've got a door operated switch. What I'm going to pick here is a connection cable for through wiring so I can link the two light fittings together. Again, just confirm what it is that you've selected to allow you to move on to the next process. So here we can see now the light fitting's fitted, but I have the option to move it. So I can either use the cursor there to move this across. Now this may be more useful when you've got something like a 1200 wide enclosure, for instance, but again, it does give the option then if you want it placed somewhere specific, whether that be for your own detailed drawings or because you want in Rittal to supply the cabinets pre-configured. So we've got our light fitting fitted. What we want now, we want some internal rails. Bear with me. I need to confirm that. So as I've just been mentioning, press the confirm button first. So that light fitting is now in our enclosure. So we're going to put in some punch section. Apologies, it's just moved on to the next one, that's me. So interior installation, we want rail systems. Like I say, you can keep flicking between the different sections on this. You can, once you get to the end, if you want to change something, you can go back into the accessories, you can go back into the modification section. So I want to fit an accessory. Again, first thing I want to know is where do you want to fit this? So again, it's going to highlight the areas where you may want to fit it. I want to fit it on the right-hand side of the frame on the inside, because obviously with the frame, because of the shape of the frame, you can fit it in either inner or the outer section of the frame. We're going to fit it on the inner section of the frame, and it's going to ask me what punch section is that you actually want to fit. So you've got different options. So again, if I click one of these, you'll get an image on the right-hand side, so you can actually be sure that that is the part that you wanted. So this is one without a mounting flange. That's not the one I want. I want the one with a mounting flange. So if I click the punch section again, a different style, I can see now from the image, that's the piece that I actually want. And again, using the positioning section down on the left-hand side, or I can simply just move my cursor up and down and position that somewhere. If it's just generally, I can use that one. Like I say, I can use the Y coordinates. So I'm going to fit a piece of punch section here to fit thermostats to a later point. Okay, and again, I just need to confirm that. So that's now fitted into the enclosure. And what we now want is we want a partial mounting plate. Okay, so go back to interior installation, partial mounting plate. And again, this is really good because this is where it will only fit in the partial mounting plates that fit in this enclosure. You can't get it wrong. And again, any bracketry needed to fit that partial mounting plate, it will automatically select it for you. Again, we're going to fit a partial mounting plate on the same side as the punch section. So we've selected the area where we want it. And again, we've got the options now of the mounting plates and the prices. I'm going to pick the one I want. And again, I can either drag and drop this, or I can use the Y coordinates where I want this. If there's any collisions as well, so if I move this up to where the punch section is, it will give me a collision highlight. So again, it's telling you cannot put that piece there, and it won't allow you to actually fit it in that area. Again, this is great just to make sure that when you're building something up, two parts that you've selected potentially may not fit together. This will confirm that. Again, we're going to put our partial mounting plate in that area and just confirm it. So I'm happy with the accessories that I fitted there. I do need a cooling unit on this, so that's the last accessory that I'm going to fit. Okay, so here we can click on cooling units. So I'm going to want a wall-mounted cooling unit, which fits on the doors or the side panels. Now, the one thing this doesn't do thermal calculations. You do need to make sure that you've done a thermal calculation first, because obviously RiPanel doesn't know the environment that the cabinet or the cooling unit is going to be working in. It doesn't know the internal equipment. You do need to do a thermal calc first. We do have the thermal software on the website, so you can use that. You can speak to us and we can assist you through it. So again, you don't have to do this on your own. We'll quite happily assist you with thermal calculations. So as with everything else, it's asking us where are we mounting this first. So in this instance, I want to put it on the front door. And again, it will only allow us to put cooling units that will physically fit on these cabinets. So again, you're not going to take a chance of getting something wrong. The doors themselves have internal tubular frames to strengthen the doors. The system's aware of this. Like I said, we'll only pick cooling units that will physically fit and it won't collide with something else actually on the door on the side panel. So multiple options on choosing a cooling unit. The output class, the voltage, for instance, you can simply scroll down if you already know the part and if you've done the thermal calculation. I'm going to assume today that we need a 4 kilowatt cooling unit. So pick 4 kilowatts, straight away, 2 selections that I have. We've got the Blue E cooling unit, which again, information on the right hand side, but I'm going to go with the Blue E Plus, which is the new, more energy efficient cooling unit. So I'm going to select that. And as I mentioned before, where the system then prompts you for accessories, this is great. These are components people don't think of. So the system knows straight away, because it's quite a large cooling unit, in terms of assistance, it gives us a Ryde up roller wheel, again, which we can click on that image to help locate the doors when you're actually fitting this big heavy cooling unit on the door. It also gives you protection clips for the doors. So when it's actually in transit, these are ideal to have on. So it's put them in already as standard. What it does then do is pick things such as filter mats. These are accessories that are quite often overlooked from a maintenance and a service point of view. Filter mats in there that can be changed regularly, cleaned, removed. It's offering that accessory. It's then offering things such as door operated switches. And again, these are components that quite often aren't considered, or they're considered afterwards. So if you've purchased a cooling unit, you then realise actually needed a door operated switch, you could potentially be waiting 24 to 48 hours to get an accessory that you really needed at that time of building. So again, it prevents all this. So we're going to pick a door operated switch, add that to selection, and then confirm it. And as with other components, it's going to want to know where you want to fit these. So we can see straight away, the blue area is the cooling unit. It's quite a large cooling unit. There's not much options in terms of where we can place that on that door. Now, if you've got a lot smaller cooling unit, again, you've got the option of just moving that around to where the cutout needs to be. If it doesn't matter to you, you can simply click confirm, or like I say, you can move that around using X and Y or just drag and drop it. I'm going to leave the cooling unit where it is. I'm just going to confirm that. And then we'll see that our CAD view on the right-hand side will be updated with the component. So we now can see our accessories are fitted, and we've got our cooling unit on there as well. Again, if we want to view this without certain components on there, we can take these out just so that we can view it better. Okay, we're not going to do any modifications on this panel. We're happy with what we've done. We did some modifications on the previous panel. So we're going to move through then to the summary. So what happens now is going to show us 3 different summaries. It's going to show us one from the overall baying and then each individual enclosure. So when we look at baying, it's going to show us the first 2 enclosures. So here we've got the enclosures that we selected, and it then shows us components for baying. So things such as combination angles for lifting. It's then got the baying cover at the top, which goes between the gap of the 2 roofs, and it's then got the baying brackets on. Now, the system's automatically put this baying bracket in. If I click on that, I can see on the right-hand side, I know that that baying connector is not suitable for transporting cabinets when bayed. This is a quick fit baying kit. This is designed to be used once the cabinets are finally in situ. So I don't want this baying bracket. That's no good to me. I actually need one for transport. I'm going to delete that out of my configuration. And then I'm going to go back to the accessories. It's just pulling that information and making those changes. And then we're going to go to general baying accessories and pick the baying brackets we do want. So again, you can see the different options here. I know that that baying bracket is suitable for transport, so I'm going to confirm that one, and then it will add that one to my selection instead. So it's updating the summaries. So we've seen that it gives us a summary for baying. What we can do then is look at the summary for enclosure number 1 and number 2. So what it'll do is list all the components that's on there. It'll also confirm any cutouts that we've made as well. So we can see that it's put one section of the side panel on the left-hand side. Obviously, a side panel normally comes in a pack of 2, saying that one of them has actually been fitted to the left-hand frame. And all the different components there. And then on the bottom as well, it also gives us the cutouts and the number of threaded holes. It gives us the extra details in terms of machining as well. And it'll be the same for enclosure number 2. It will just go into the detail of it. What we then want to do is get either a quotation or place an order. So we're going to move through to where we can either send an inquiry into the office, we can place loose components into the Rittal web shop, and we can set technical detail to ourselves. So here we can simply print off the summary. We can download a parts list just as an Excel format. So when we email ourselves the details, we'll get the Excel formats then, but if you just want that information now, you can download that as the parts list. If you want Rittal to supply this as a pre-configured, so you wish us to do the modifications, you want the components fitting, or you only want half of that doing, then what you would do is you would click on request a quote. That will go through to our office. So you put all of your details in here. In the comments section at the bottom, just let us know what it is that you want. You actually want enclosure number 1 to come in as we've specified, or enclosure number 2, or you only want part of this doing. Drop that to us. We can then send you a quotation and obviously give you the relevant information on lead times. You can click get technical data, and I'm going to go through this in a minute of what you actually get with this. So you put your details in here and email it to yourself, and it will send you a link to download all of the relevant files, so all the 3D drawings, PDF documents, machining information, or obviously you could email that to a colleague if it's a colleague that needs it. If you simply wanted all of those loose components, because obviously you're going to build everything yourself, you've got all your great drawings that you've done for yourself, you want all the components, you just want to order them, and what you can do is click add to cart. Now this is obviously if you've got an account with Rittal, and this is where logging in at the beginning makes it quite useful, because it goes straight through to the Rittal web shop. So what the system's doing at the moment now, it's picking all that information, it's putting it into the web shop, it's checking all the lead times and everything, and also looking at the price and information on there as well. So this is just for loose components. I'll just take a moment. There's a lot of information in there that it's trying to work with. As I mentioned, my internet's not as fast as I'd like it to be. So what it's now done, we can see here, it said I'm not logged in, so bear with me, I shall just log in. So that's the cart. So it's updated my cart with all of them components. Apologies, my internet's very slow. So all of them items that we were looking at before, here. So it's got all of my pricing information, gives me all the lead times of all the components, and everything's there that I need. So you've built that configuration up, you're not having to then order it separately, you can literally just throw it straight into the web shop. Obviously, if you're not on the web shop or you need to pass that information to a different department, you can simply supply them with all the details. Obviously, you've got all the CSV files that you can download as an Excel format. So there you have the complete build. Okay, as I mentioned before, if you click get technical data, what that will do is that will drop a link through to your email. I'm just going to open this back up so you can see. So what you will actually get is you will get an email like this. So you can see on the top of the email, that's your actual configuration for RiPanel. Again, it will show you in the link as well, but you can actually open it from here. And then all of the detail that you're going to get here, so the bills of materials, assembly instructions, or your CAD formats, your programming, your e-plan, you actually get a little link there that says download. If you click on that link, it will automatically download all the files to your download file. And this is what it will look like. So there's several different files. You've then got, said, bill of materials, you've got your configuration and rigs there, and then you've got some PDF documents as well. If you were to open up the baying file, this is the type of information that you would get. So you get your different formats of drawing files. So again, your step files for your 3D images. You'd also get the images in 3D PDF. So again, that's the type of image you can see here on the right-hand side. Again, this is great information. If customers, if you want to supply this to a customer that you're building panels for and they don't have the option to view 3D files, you can send them the 3D PDF images as well. That's really useful. If you were to open up one of the enclosure files, for instance, so enclosure number 1, you'd get the 3D files I mentioned before and the 3D PDFs. You would get assembly documentation. You would also get your drill pattern information. So all the holes that we put in that cabinet, you get all that information in here as well. But one thing you do get, So many of our customers are now using the Perfrex machines. If you're not aware what Perfrex is, we provide Rittal automation systems. So this is where we start to look at the value chain and really adding value to your business. We have one of these machines here at Hellaby, but a number of panel builders now have these machines to do their own modifications on. So this is the Perfrex BC that you can see in the image. This is one of the milling machines. We also do a laser machine as well. So what this machine does is you can put flat parts on, you can put enclosures onto a certain size, and you can create the cutout. So none of it's done by hand, it's all done by machine. When you create modifications in the RiPanel, you automatically then get all of the machining information here. So if you were to open up the Perfrex BC, the machining information will be in here. That you could download that directly into the workstation here, and then obviously you can create the modifications on the panels. So everything links together. Like I said, this is where you start looking at the whole value chain of working with either all these components together. So RiPanel really, it's a fantastic tool. You can create your 3D build drawings in this. It's fantastic for trying to prevent human error. So the time savings on finding products, finding the right product, obviously not missing out on accessories potentially that you may have need that you've not thought of. You can do integration into ePlan Pro Panel as well for single enclosures. So at the moment, if you have ePlan Pro Panel, we can't bring in the beige sections. We are working on that at the moment because this software is still very much it's not a work in progress, but it's constantly evolving, they're constantly updating it. So if you're doing single panel configurations, you would also get the downloadable ePlan Pro Panel link. So if you built it in the RIC system, so the RiPanel system, you can then open that up in ePlan as well. Also, you can create your bill of materials. You've got live pricing information in there if you've got an account with us, and the software's free. We don't charge for this. We do often get questions that the software doesn't do certain things. It won't do every configuration. If we were to do every potential configuration, the time and effort that would need would then mean it would have to be a chargeable service, and that's not what we want. This is about doing the majority of panel building configurations. It can't do everything. But like I said, the software is free. It's a fantastic tool. Please use it. If you found the webinar useful, but you want to watch it again in regards to the demonstration, then you will see it uploaded in the next few days to the Rittal UK YouTube channel. This channel is fantastic. It's got a wealth of information on it. We upload all the webinars on there. There are FAQ videos, there's hints and tips. There's also the how-to videos. If you're trying to understand how to fit a part, for instance, such as a swing frame or a hinge, then you can jump onto the YouTube channel and there will be how-to videos on there. So they're really, really useful. Another area is under the blog section of the website. Again, in here you'll find the webinars, white papers, application stories. So again, it's a great source of information. So again, have a play around on the website. If there's something you're looking for and you can't find it, by all means, come through to me. And lastly, if training on this software is of interest and you'd like to delve into it in more depth, then please get in touch. My contact details are there. It can be conducted obviously by myself or your local area sales manager. Again, we can do this virtually or we can do it face-to-face, whichever works best for you. What I'm just going to do is I'm just going to check, see if there are any questions that's come in. So if you can just bear with me. Right, so one of the questions I got was, is there a recording of this webinar? Yes, there is. Obviously, I've just pointed out to where that would be. So it's either on the Rittal YouTube channel or it would be uploaded to the website. I hope you found it useful. As mentioned, any questions, if you can't think of them now, you want to email them through to me or potentially get in touch with us via social media, that's absolutely fine. But I hope you found it useful. Much appreciated. Thank you for your time and have a fantastic afternoon, everyone. Thank you.